If you're just joining the program, I'm in the midst of a conversation with Scripps Howard News Service syndicated columnist and National Review Online contributing editor Deroy Murdock. And we've been discussing where the Republican Party is going in relation to the most recent remarks by former Florida Governor Jeb Bush and what this might mean for Mitt Romney. But I want to change direction of the conversation right now, Deroy. And as we go back into it, tell me what you think about this whole fast and furious conversation. We saw Attorney General Eric Holder be put through the ringer on Capitol Hill this week. Do you think that Eric Holder is going to survive this moment, or is he going to go the way of Alberto Gonzales?
I think it's fascinating to watch a congressional hearing where you have a sitting U.S. Senator, Senator Cornyn of Texas, say to the Attorney General, you ought to resign, right to his face. I mean, usually the whole press conference doesn't do it when the person they want to resign has left the room or left the building. But, to say to him right in his face, you need to resign is pretty amazing. And I believe Orrin Hatch has come out and called for Eric Holder's resignation as well. I think people are very frustrated at this Fast and Furious program that, as your listeners may know, led to, I believe, hundreds, if not thousands of guns being shipped off to Mexico. Some of these then were turned around and used to kill one of our border control agents. I believe a lot of Mexicans have been killed in drug-related violence as a consequence. This thing went completely haywire, and unlike a lot of scandals in D.C., which involve funny money or sometimes sex or a little of both, this involves dead bodies. People have been killed as a result of this administration's incompetence. And on top of that, you have the intransigence of them not coming forward, not being forthcoming, stalling on document requests, dragging their feet. And if they would say, look, we meant to do well, we thought this would be a good way to track guns and track down the drug cartels, and we miscalculated, we're sorry, we apologize. I think a lot of people would say, all right, well, at least you were honest about it, but they're just pretending to bob and weave and dribble out a little bit of information here and there and sit on a lot of requests for information, not pass them along. And the point may come where Eric Holder actually has a vote of contempt of Congress against him, which is a pretty, I don't know if it's unprecedented, but certainly an unusual situation in which to find himself. I think as long as he has the support of President Obama, he's going to stay there till the bitter end. I think he's one of Obama's probably most loyal deputies. And certainly if you're a president of the United States, you want to have a loyal attorney general who either can appoint special prosecutors or just drag his feet as Holder's been doing and look the other way and stall and not pursue justice the way it ought to be.
Deroy, I hear what you're saying, but let's be intellectually honest. You're coming from a partisan perspective. But let me turn this around for a moment. The left has criticized President Obama for years for throwing those within his circle under the bus if they happen to be too controversial. But for whatever reason, he has not done that with Eric Holder. So on one hand, we can look at the past and say President Obama tries to distance himself from those people who may bring a little too much heat to him, but he hasn't done that with Eric Holder. Doesn't that send the message that maybe President Obama fully believes in what Eric Holder has been doing?
That's an interesting question. Probably the poster boy for what you describe in terms of throwing people under the bus, to use that lovely image, is someone like Van Jones, who got very controversial. This is the former green job czar, who is a self-described communist. Not my words, his words, his word. And he became very controversial because of some statements he made, and very quickly, within a day or two, he was the former green energy czar, green job czar. Holder certainly is controversially still there. Obviously, it's a much higher position when you're attorney general as opposed to the green job czar. I suspect one reason he may hang on to him is that Eric Holder's a very solid left-wing Democrat, and maybe the thought is that if he gets jettisoned, that will demoralize the Democratic base and either get people upset or so dejected they don't work hard in the campaign, and that could cost him re-election, perhaps. And I guess there's some level of personal loyalty between the two. I mean, they seem like they're about the same age. They seem like kindred spirits. There may be a lot of personal loyalty there as well as sort of professional or administrative loyalty, if you want to call it that.
More broadly, I know that I'm going to receive hate mail for entering into a dialogue with you as a conservative and not necessarily taking you to task on certain points which are in direct opposition to Democratic talking points. Conversely, I'm sure you're going to get some hate mail for entering into a dialogue with me and actually complimenting the president for anything at all. Why is it you and I can have a reasoned, measured, rational discussion about these issues, and some that we may not even agree upon, but the larger political discourse seems to be much more toxic? Why is it we can do it, but the others cannot?
Well, I think we're both Georgetown graduates. That may have something to do with it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yes, it's both sons of the hilltop. I think that, unfortunately, a lot of political discussion in this country, we go very quickly from whatever the issue is into all kinds of ad hominem kind of remarks. I remember the vivid example of the Gabby Giffords shooting, which thankfully she survived, but I believe 7 or 8 or 9 people did not who were killed in Arizona. And everyone said, look, we need to cool the dialogue. We need to be able to converse as all members of the same country and engage in the kind of discourse that I guess we're having now. And that lasted for about a month. And then this whole Scott Walker thing kicked in. And
right.
All of a sudden, all that just went straight to hell. And the same people who were saying, look, let's try to cool the temperature here, were describing Scott Walker not as someone with some ideas with which they disagreed, but as Adolf Hitler. And there was Scott Walker with a square mustache on him. And somebody actually was walking out of the sign with Scott Walker with rifle crosshairs on his forehead. And I thought, okay, a month ago we were saying you can't do crosshairs on people's faces because of the Gabby Giffords shooting here. 1 month later, the tables had turned. The Democrats are being challenged by a Republican governor, and out came the crosshairs. I thought that was just
okay, but remember, the Republicans weren't exactly nice to President Obama in regards to the birther debate, and they had depicted President Obama as a Stalinistic socialist as well with the Hitler mustache. I mean, that blame could be attributed to both sides of the aisle. Would you not agree?
Well, I only saw, actually, I was at a demonstration. I spoke at a demonstration in Detroit regarding the whole auto bailout, and it was kind of interesting. I was there along with people from the National Taxpayers Union and other limited government types, and it's an open sidewalk, and these people who were involved with Lyndon LaRouche showed up, and they had a picture of Obama with a Hitler mustache, and I think he actually was wearing a swastika armband and all this other sort of thing. And we said, look, we don't want to get into that. We don't accuse the President of the United States of being a Nazi, etc. And we had no way of, we couldn't knock him down or beat him up or whatever. We said, look, you stand on that side of the sidewalk, we stand over there. And we literally tried to stay as far away from them as we could so we did not end up in the same news photograph or same news footage. And we were almost like running away from these guys as we were conducting our protest against the bailout. So I think sometimes when these people pop up, you have folks who are at one extreme or another, and the whole movement gets tainted. And I may imagine to some degree this may happen on the Democratic side. Although you do have people who are even as mainstream as if you will, as James Hoffa Jr., the head of the Teamsters. And this is as he was introducing President Obama a couple of years ago. And he talked about, I forget the exact words, but beating up the Republicans or giving them hell, or some words that maybe I can't even say on the radio. And again, very, very violent imagery and totally unnecessary. I would love to have a situation where we can have amicable and spirited disagreements on the issues, keep it focused on the substance, and leave all the name-calling and ad hominem stuff for little kids in schoolyards and sandboxes to engage in.
He is Deroy Murdock, syndicated columnist with the Scripps Howard News Service and a fellow with the Hoover Institution at Stanford. And we can't forget contributing editor with the National Review Online. Deroy, we have tried for weeks to get you on the program, but I'm so glad we were finally able to get our schedules together and make it happen. Hopefully we get to do this again sometime soon, my friend.
I would like that very much. Thank you very much.